G'day. We're going to be going over lighting in S.T.A.L.K.E.R Anomaly. We're going to go over two things: Tonemap, or the settings that are there, the personal settings that you can use, and the Lumscale. We're going to go over that in a little bit more detail, I hope. We're going to read this comment here from Tonemap, and we're going to go with the second one here. Since you know more about the lighting settings than I do, can you quickly explain to me, like a dummy, what exactly these settings do? You came to the right channel for dumb. All I can figure is they seem to relate to certain brightness of the sky and clouds. And I want to tweak them, but I can never remember what they do. And it's hard to see the difference when I test around. So you were just messing with the tone map and the low lum there. So we're going to go over this. I'm hoping that this will not only help you, it'll help out other people that watch the video as well to hopefully get a little bit of a better understanding. Now, I have said in a lot of prior videos, I am not the best person to describe these things. I do have trouble just bringing it out of my head, but I have a little bit of a mock-up script to help me out. So hopefully I'll be able to describe this, and I'm going to do my very best that I can. As for the installation that I'm using here, I just want to let you know, I'm using the Anomaly 1.5.2 installation. I only have two mods installed. One, Mr. Demonized Modded XE, and the MCM. This is my test install. This is where I bring everything that I want to test out individually, just with base Anomaly, just so I could see what's going on. On your screen right now, you should see a bunch of settings. These are the settings that we're going to be messing with today. Each one of these numbers that are beside the settings there are all the default values for Anomaly 1.5.2. Okay? I don't know if 1.5.1 had different sort of settings, maybe a little bit of an adjustment difference. I don't think so, but this is what the default settings are. Screenshot it, write it down. This will come in handy for you. If you get totally confused, just remember you can go to your installation, go into the game data, and then delete the player LTX file. Start the game again, it'll create a brand new one, and you'll be back to default settings. The other thing I also want to go over is whenever you're using these settings, okay, it's all going to depend on your monitor, your video card settings, what mods you are using, like S.T.A.L.K.E.R shader mod or reshade or anything else. This is all going to affect these settings because all of those types of mods and stuff are going to affect your lighting and your shadows in certain ways, right? So I cannot give you an end-all be-all of what to utilize. This has to come from you, all right? You need to be able to play around with this and experiment. It's going to take you time. It's taken me a lot of time to get used to it. So don't be razzled by it. The other thing I wanted to say too is that when you are making your own mod pack, I would strongly advise before you start playing with the lighting and everything else. I mean, you could mess around with it before you start installing mods and everything else, just to get a sense of what you are looking for, okay? But I really wouldn't be messing with anything until you have, one, got your engine sorted out, and two, all of your textures. So what do I mean by engine? So generally, when I'm talking about an engine, I'm talking about putting in your S.T.A.L.K.E.R shader mod. Whether or not you're going to use enhanced shaders, whether you're going to use atmospherics, anything that is a core program part of your mod pack that you can't just uninstall because then your mod pack's fucked, right? Anything that is truly core to the game, I would advise going through and installing those first because all of them have some effect to your shadows and your lighting overall. First of all, let's go over the tone map. All right, now, if you can have a look at the sun that the bird just flew past then, tone map is generally messing with the sun itself, okay? So your settings are always going to affect both light and dark, but it is in relation to how close the sun is to the world and how bright the sun is, okay? Now there is one setting in the tone map section that I still myself do not know anything about, okay? I've tried to have a quick look to research, see if I can try and find something, but I can't. And that's the Tonemap adaptation. So if you're a modder and you're watching this video and you can enlighten us as to what adaptation really does, if you put that in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated. The things that I do know about are these 4 settings. So Tonemap, amount, low lum, and middle grey. Tonemap simple. All it is that you turn your Tonemap on and you turn your Tonemap off. Okay? That's all that is. Now, don't get this confused with Mishko's settings where it asks you to turn the Tonemap here off. On or off. That's a different setting altogether. That's where you're getting into really, really complicated territory. Okay? When I mess with the Tonemap, I'm messing with these settings here. Okay? These, to me, are the settings that the player or the person who's making their mod pack gets to go through and modify. And this is what adapts everything to your monitor, your screen, and everything else in the mods you're using. This is your personal thing. Most modders don't touch this section. They'll touch that other section that I showed you. All the things behind the scenes, the R2, R3, R4, R5, R6, it just keeps going. Right? And that's just shit that I cannot explain because I'm not that type of person. So Tonemap is very simple. On, off. You turn it off, all of these settings will no longer have any effect. Turn it on, they'll start having an effect again. Okay? That's very easy. So let's go with the first one. We'll go over them in a little bit of a different sort of order, but there's a reason for that. Okay, so the low lum. The low lum determines how bright the sun is. Okay? So if we have a look here, you can see the sun, and you saw the inner sphere of the sun just then when the bird flew past. That's how bright the sun is right now. Okay? So if I go through and I go Tonemap and I go to low lum, you have to keep in mind that it's a number between 0 and 1. The lower the number, the brighter the sun. The higher the number, the dimmer the sun. Which means you're going to see that circle where the bird just went past again. You're going to see that circle more prevalently. If I go 0.1, let's say, you see the sun is a hell of a lot bigger, a lot more prevalent. Yeah? And just be aware too that I think also the sky map, or what type of sky map you have at the time, does affect the sun as well, its brightness levels. Okay, so just bear that in mind. I happen to get lucky with this one. And so you're able to see the sun in a lot more force. Now, if I go through and I turn the low lum up to 1, max, you're going to see that a lot of that coronosphere on the outside, you still see a faint, you can still see it faintly, but it's dimmed right off. And as a result, the whole area is a lot less brighter. Right? This is what I mean. Whatever you're doing with the sun is going to affect everything overall. There is no just going to affect the shadows, just going to affect the light. That's down the road of Lumscale. And we'll get to that once we're done with this. So let's put the Tonemap back to 0.5 where it was. Okay. Now, the next setting that we're going to go over is the middle grey. Now, the middle grey determines how close the sun is to the world and how far away it is from the world. Let me show you. So if we go down as far as 0.1, you're going to see the sun is very far distance away from us. If you were to put this in terms of, astronomy or something like that, or space in general, technically, if you were standing on Pluto, this is potentially what the sun might look like to you while you're looking at it. Right? There's barely any heat getting to the planet. This thing would be nothing but a fucking frozen wasteland, and you'd stare at it for a couple of seconds and you'd die, I suppose. Okay? Now, if I was to go through and turn the middle grade to 2, you can see that the ball of fire is actually a lot larger than what it was before. Not by much, because the setting at default was 1.5. It's only going up another 0.500. And that's it. But it's still, it is a lot closer. Yeah? The better way to see it, though, if I wanted to, I can go to Tonemap, and I can turn down the low lum by going up to 1, and you see how close the sun is now. And that's the actual sun. That's not the coronasphere on the outer edge. The next setting that we're going to go over for Tonemap is the amount. So the amount is between 0 and 1. Now think of the amount as your restriction. So right now at number 1, it is unrestricted. So every single setting that you do for your low lum and your middle grey will be at full effect. Okay? If I was to, let's say, put this on 0.5, the sun, whenever I wanted to move it back again, as I showed you before, if I was to, let me just show you, why am I fucking trying to describe it? Okay, so let's set the amount to 0.5. So that's about the midway, okay? You will sometimes see a brightness difference, okay, with the settings that are at default. That's because the sun and the low lum is just slightly adjusting, but not by much. I'm going to show you the extremes though. So let's go middle grey. So we know where the sun is. It's in a good place. So let's take it back to 0.1 again. Now you can see that the sun has gone back a fair bit, but there's quite a bit of light still here. Quite a bit to see. So technically it's only gone half the distance that I've set it at, if you know what I mean. Yeah? So it hasn't gone all the way back to where I had it before. So it's sort of restricting how far it goes. So this sort of lets you fine tune your low lum and your middle grey a little bit more. That's generally what the amount does. If I wanted to go and have it so that the sun was just barely affected and I only wanted to move it just slightly back, but I couldn't quite come up with a number, like let's say the sun at 1.5 and I wanted to go 1.4, but for some reason it's going back too far, I can use the amount and set it for, let's say, 0.2, and it'll only just move that slight fraction back, and it might be perfect for what you're looking for. So that's what the amount is, okay? If I go through and I change the amount now, I can set it right back to where we had it when we were looking at it from Pluto. Let's say right now the sun is, I don't know, we're standing on one of the moons of Saturn, and this is probably where the sun would be from there, yeah? So let's set the Tonemap back to 1, and you'll see that the sun goes to the full distance again, as if we were standing on Pluto and looking at the sun. All right, so that amount just allows you to fine tune things a little bit more, okay? But it's going to take you a lot of practice. There's no beating around the bush. I've already said it. You are going to need to go in there and really fuck with the settings. I cannot give you an end all be all because there is no end all be all. Your weather will affect your lighting. Whether it's raining, whether it's foggy, like I said, what mods you're using, everything is going to come into play. And just finding that sweet spot is going to take a lot of time. The next things that I want to go over is your Lumscale. Okay, so let's go over the Lumscale. I have tried to explain this in the past. Maybe I didn't do it so well, but hopefully this is going to be a little bit better. So I've already given you the simpler version in relation to the sun, so I'll give you the same simpler version for the Lumscale. Okay, so the Lumscale itself is more of the light side of things. It's still going to affect your sky map. It's still going to affect your lighting overall, but it'll either brighten it or darken it depending on the relation to your sun. So once you set up your sun distance and all of your other lighting, you can use these settings to start toning up the brightness a little bit more, or the effect of it. Okay, so it's almost like a multiplier of the light that's coming through. Okay, so this Lumscale affects your light. The Hemi affects your shadows, right? And the ambience, it's like the background illumination from the sun. It hits both light and shadow sort of thing. It's the same sort of thing with the reflections of stuff, let's say. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so if I was to go to Lumscale, and right now its default setting is 2. If I was to go to 2.8, you can see that the sun is brightened up. the area or the light a lot more, adding a little bit more life. If I was to go through and change the Lumscale to, let's go as far down as a 1. You can see that the sun isn't having as much of an effect on the world overall. Okay, the multiplier has been lowered. All right. So that's how you look at the Lumscale. Yeah. So let's put the Lumscale back to 2. Was it 2? Yes, 2. To where it was. Now, the Lumscale Hemi is your shadows. Same sort of thing, 0 to 3. It's set to 1 at the moment. If I was to go 2.8, right, your shadows are going to be very light. Very, very light. Okay? If I was to go lower, what was it set for? 1. So let's go 0.1. It's going to be very dark in the shadowy area. It's still going to affect the light. All of these settings will affect your light and darkness to some degree, but your Hemi is more shadowy, your Lumscale is more light, and your ambience is more of both. Alright, so that's the Hemi. Oops. And that was set for 1. Now, if I was to go through and set up both of these and then use the ambience, I could sort of make these really dastardly dark shadows and really bright lights look a little bit cleaner. However, it's going to affect your internals or within the actual buildings themselves as well. Okay, so let's go through and set up the Lumscale for the, well, we're not going to go max. Just a side note while I'm thinking of it. When you're messing with your Tonemap and your Lumscales and everything else, just be careful of going for really high numbers. In other words, the max number. Okay, just be very careful with it. Because sometimes your frame rates will start dropping, your engine will start... It's like the X-ray engine starts breaking or cracking, if you will, right in front of your eyes. Then you've got to go and restart the game. So, let's go for Hemi. Whoops. I took a little bit too much off. Let's go for... let's go 0.1. Let's make it dark. So we've brightened up the lights and we've darkened the shadows greatly. Let's go for the ambience. It's set for 1, so let's go for a 2. Maybe? No, we need a little bit higher. So let's go for a 2.8. So I can have a pretty dark looking game where the light is still fairly good, as you can see. Yeah? Now, let's go inside of the building, go and have a look-see at it. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's kind of alright. I don't really believe that the light would actually light up the room like this. You would probably want to ease off the ambience a little bit. Let's go for a 6. No, still not good. 2. A little bit darker. That's all right, because it is time of day and everything else, so it would be a little bit dark, but not too dark. There wouldn't be any real visible sort of shadows because of the reflections of everything else around it. But I think you get what I mean. I hope you do anyway. You sort of need to, like I said before, as I've tried to say many a time now, you really need to play with your settings a fair bit to get any real knowledge out of it. Oh, shit. One other thing that I have to go over. On top of all of your other settings that you have got to mess with there when you're trying to mess with your light, also take into consideration your basic light settings. These are pretty impactful. So if you darken the shadows, brighten the lights or something like that, you can always counter those by simply going through and modifying these numbers here. You can go and do this within the game itself. I find it easier just to use this. and then you could go through and brighten up your game a little bit more. So don't ever underestimate the power of your basic settings. These help you a lot when you're doing your lighting. Like you just can't find that right fucking setting for the light, and it's pissing you off. You've been on it for a couple of hours and you're about to rip your fucking hair out and scream at the screen or put a sword through the fucking computer, right? And then you think, oh, hang on, basic lighting, and then you go like, maybe that fixes your problem straight away. And you're like, holy fuck, why didn't I think of that before? Trust me, I've done that many a times. So don't forget this particular setting. Other than that, I hope I've covered everything that helps you out a little bit more. Post it in the comments if maybe that wasn't simple enough, but I'm pretty sure I made it as simple as possible. But even a dumb cunt like me understands it. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.